What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the new album from the band Cerebral Engorgement, entitled Cerebral Chronicles. This is released on Gore House Productions. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of San Francisco, California, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very traditional, fast, aggressive style of brutal death metal. Cerebral Engorgement is primarily a one-person project formed by a guy by the name of Mike Simon. You may know him best for his work as the vocalist of Iniquitous Deeds for their first EP and their debut full-length Incessant Hallucinations. Great stuff on his part, but I believe this project predated that band, and this project has undergone a lot of transformations throughout the years, because at one point in time this band had somewhat of a cyber grind, brutal death sort of sound and influence to them in terms of their music, vocals, just straightforward over-the-top stuff. I mean, the earliest material like Devour the Children, Shot Bong Suicide, and Orgasmica showed you that this was a band that had a very silly and weird sort of approach to them, but they made some they made some entertaining music. But in 2013, I feel we got a more I feel this band was making a full-fledged transition to brutal death metal with the album Gastrointestinal Bleeding. That album was fun in its own right, and I think it still holds up pretty well and nicely over the years. But yeah, Cerebral Engorgement is back. Mike Simon is back doing everything, I believe, this time around. And here we have the fifth full-length from Cerebral Engorgement entitled Cerebral Chronicles. It's 10 tracks, and it clocks in at around 26 minutes in length, so this is going to be a short album to listen to. But in the short amount of time you listen to this, you will be in for a very riff-laden, slamming good time with this one, I should say. The thing that I noticed the most about Cerebral Chronicles is that this album definitely feels a lot more mature and well-balanced in comparison to previous Cerebral Engorgement full-lengths, in terms of songwriting, in terms of lyrics, in terms of maturity. But beneath all the maturity and the grown-up feelings that you get from listening to this album, you get what you are you'll be more interested in hearing some heavy death here with this album, and you'll get that in plenty of spades here with Cerebral Chronicles. Like the opening track, Voices of Corruption, and then later on to songs like Succubus Reanimated and the track Always Watching. Always Watching is probably one of my favorite tracks off of this album because of how crazy things get and how much slammy pit riff stuff you hear throughout the majority of that track, where the riffs just build up and get slower and more pummeling, and I really love that about that song. And that's really one thing that holds my attention throughout the majority of Cerebral Chronicles, is the fact that there's a lot of heavy guitar playing being done here throughout this album. A lot of heavy riffs, a lot of great spastic moments to be heard throughout this album, especially towards the second half of this album with songs like Inescapable Multiverse and Gastrointestinal Riddles. It's just some really well-crafted and well-executed guitar playing going on here, and I think it definitely holds up and makes this album much more entertaining to listen to. As far as the drums are concerned, I think this drum performance is really solid and top-notch. I do definitely feel that it has a little bit of that program digitized sort of sound, but I think it accompanies the musicianship being done here quite nicely. Very loud snare tone, a lot of good snare pops and snare hits, a lot of fast double bass and blast beats being done throughout this entire record, and I think it makes things all the more intriguing and interesting, especially for some of the shorter, sweeter, lengthier tracks on this record. I think it's really awesome to hear this drum performance sound as good the way that it does. And when it comes to the vocals, it's one thing I really enjoy about Mike Simon is the fact that he has a very guttural, gurgly sort of voice. It's very strong, it's very undecipherable at times, but yet you can appreciate his efforts and details being put into the songs, especially when it comes to the lyrics. I think it's really well done here, and I think he does a tremendous vocal performance. So overall, I definitely would say this is one of the better Cerebral Engorgement full lengths to come out in recent times. I think this is a very, very worthy successor to Gastrointestinal Bleeding. If you're a fan of his previous works with this band, if you're into anything that Mike Simon has done, you'll find something to enjoy here with Cerebral Chronicles. It's a short, sweet affair, but I think you're going to find some great riffs to be heard on this record, and definitely something you want to mosh heavily to. So, if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I definitely have to say Voices of Corruption. Abstract Defecation is another great track. Always Watching. Seriously killer pit riffs on that song. Hallucinations of the Dead, and Inescapable Multiverse. Really top-notch songs here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as how you get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Gore House Productions Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it by digitally, and it is available physically as a jewel case CD. There you can see this really badass artwork, professionally done, as top-notch per usual through Gore House Productions, and I believe there's also 12-inch vinyl versions available of this if you want to get a vinyl version of that. So, again, the album is Cerebral Chronicles by Cerebral Engorgement. This is released on Gore House Productions. Go check this one out. And for a score, I'm feeling a very strong 8 out of 10 for this one. Definitely one of the best Cerebral Engorgement albums to date. So if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it. Or any of you guys into Cerebral Engorgement, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until the next time, Army Hell out.